What is Wilsonian crisis? This is what we are going to go through in the next few slides that I have collected for you people. So what is Fulminant-Wilson's disease, or Wilsonian crisis as we may call it, or acute and chronic liver failure presentation in Wilson's? So the common presentations of chronic liver disease are neurological, but Wilsonian crisis will present in a smaller number, 3 to 5% or maybe up to 10%, usually presenting as ACLF or ALF-like picture with hemolysis plus minus renal damage. 6 to 12% of all the ALF who are referred for emergent liver transplantation are having Wilson's disease. Wilson's disease should be considered as a DD in any young patient presenting with ALF who may have initial symptoms of this disease as ALF, or who may come to you having previously stopped the medications. Children usually constitute 65% of these patients, so young adults and children are largely present in this group. And 3% of the PALF, or the pediatric ALF study group cohort, was also Wilson's disease, that is Fulminant-Wilson's disease. This is one thing that I've taken from Dr. Baudeker's presentation at my institute, where again, if you see, the 11 of their almost 350 plus cases were just over Fulminant-Wilsonian crisis. So this shows that it's about 3 to 5% of the total group. So this is rapid onset, usual presentation, severe coagulopathy, Coombs negative hemolysis, we've already discussed that, and these various ratios that you're talking about, encephalopathy and high mortality without a liver transplant. Screening of these disease, as was discussed in this paper earlier in 2008, the best decided with the help of these ratios of SAP to Billy and AST, ALT. The accuracy, they said in those days, was 100%. Later on, there was data against this. They said this was false positive in 31% with various, and 43% with various ratios. This is the more recent paper where okay, so where they found that the serum ALT and the AST level, if you compare the Wilson's, Fulminant-Wilson's with the other non-Wilsonian ALF, the serum ALT and AST seems to be much lower. The hemoglobin again is low because of the hemolysis going on, and the serum ceruloplasmin as well as urinary copper can easily delineate these patients away from the other ALF. Now, to look at the factors which can easily, pick up these patients, it's from this study from Dr. Harshad Devbhavi, it was seen that the time-tested signs and tests such as Kerr-Fring, serum ceruloplasmin, urinary copper have a much better and a higher place in deciding these cases of Fulminant-Wilson's disease, rather than the ratios that we have been talking about all day throughout. Hemolysis, the Coombs negative hemolysis, is usually comes is associated in these patients, and it usually has a spectrum from being almost asymptomatic to being very severe. As far as the pathogenesis of the Fulminant-Wilson's disease is concerned, if you ask me what actually causes the hemolysis, the only reason which is supported by a lot of evidence is the fact that the excess amount of copper in the blood causes the RBCs to hemolyze. What is the reason for the RBCs to hemolyze? Is it because of the is it because of the presence of superoxide radicals, or is it because of this inhibition of a sodium potassium pump, or even glutathione? There are various theories available, but the only thing that people know is that the necrotic hepatocytes release the copper, and that causes the hemolysis. Now, this is the paper that we've been talking about, 2006 paper, which actually came about with this new Wilson's index by Dr. Anil Dhawan. The earlier index, which was made in children as well as adults, was caused in NASER score, and later on they re-derived the five biochemical parameters they can use that you can see here, and then based on that they made this score and then validated it, did an internal validation and came up with this score. This score later on in 2011, you see this was the Pittsburgh paper that we again had some reference to in the morning. They say that if you look at, somebody can give me the, okay. If you look at this paper, You can see that there is the Wilson's index in these patients is quite high. Despite that, a fair amount, 13, 7, 10, 11, 10, 11. If you see the total Wilson's index, and some of them, the first child has lived with 13, has lived with native liver with a 13 Wilson's index. Similarly, the child with 11 has also lived. I mean, there was a very mixed picture. So the feeling was that, can you really depend on this? This was the basic caution that people tried to put in here, that can new Wilson's index actually give you the right prognosis? I was also wanting to show you something here, and that is, am I not touching the right button? The important point here is also to look at the urinary copper in these patients. I seem to have a feeling, which also was pointed out to me by my directors. He also felt that maybe it's the urinary copper which is very in large amounts in those cases who are living. The ones who are throwing out their copper are the ones who are living with native liver. Maybe the ones who are not throwing out their copper are the ones who are not living with the native liver. Could it be possible? This was just an initial thing. Now, if you look at Dr. Devbhai's paper again, whatever they found quite a few variables in the univariate analysis which they found to be significantly associated with mortality. But when they looked at the multivariate analysis, it was only the encephalopathy and the total bilirubin, based on which they made a score, and that score, then when they tested it, it found to be doing best on the ROC curves, then the NASA score, then the New Wilson score, and the PELD and MELD. So this was supposed to be doing the best in his paper, and this is the only one paper that we have in India. So he also felt that that the NWI and the PELD and MELD have a modest accuracy in predicting outcome here. Some of the, if another study which shows that the fulminant Wilson's disease may live without liver transplant. Our own data, this we have published with the acute and chronic, 7 deaths, 4 liver transplant, 13 were alive among the Wilson's disease with acute and chronic liver failure. I'll just quickly show you our own data, and this is the reason is that this can raise a lot more doubts here. 34 ACLF with Wilson's, 10 died. LT was given to 4, the same 4. Survival with native liver was in 16. 23 of these 34 had NWI more than 11. And despite NWI more than 11, 8 lived with the native liver. 10 of these had NWI between 6 to 10, and 3 of them died without liver transplant. So this is the doubt that I have been having in my mind all this time. The HE grade seems to be a better indicator. 19 had HE grade 3 and 4, and only 2 lived with native livers, could survive with native liver. No to grade 2. HE, if you see, they were 15, and only 1 had a poor outcome. So to me, it's HE which is supposedly the better predictor. And in our case, the Billy did not seem to be showing so much of good prediction. Now for management, quickly, only thing is the usual management you should do for fulminant Wilson's is what you would treat every other Wilson's. That is, the medical therapy should be giving. Apart from that, there is some evidence that you can do the total plasma exchange. I'll just use the names for you here. The total plasma exchange is one. This is one study which has shown a good response to at least 2 of their patients lived with, or 4 of their patients lived. 2 needed a transplant later, but 2 did not need a transplant. This is another modality that you can use, and this is the Mars therapy that people were talking about right now, but it's a lot more expensive, and there are other issues, one being that the albumin that is used here cannot be recirculated in Wilson's disease, so that makes it even more expensive. In our own data, of the 8 patients of Wilson's, 19 sessions of high volume plasma exchange was done, and all of them had a NWI score more than 11. The outcome is this. The best thing that I think we should look at is the HVP, pre-HPVP, the PELD was 31 to 48, and post-HVP, this was the PELD. The NWI again improved post-HVP. Some of them could be saved, but of course, smaller numbers, and rest had to be taken towards liver transplant. Liver transplant is safe in fulminant Wilson's disease. Moina just showed you, but it seems to be not doing as well as the chronic liver disease with Wilson's disease. with liver transplants is much better with chronic liver disease than with fulminant liver disease, but liver transplant is safe. But should we do it? And when should we do it? And who should we transplant is the question I leave you with. And I conclude that the Wilsonian crises have high mortality, almost 50%, especially those with HE grade 3 and 4. Diagnosis of this syndrome is better with conventional diagnostic criteria. Ratios seems to be having a limited value. NWI as a prognostic marker could have doubtful efficacy. And new prognostic models with HE grade or maybe bilirubin should be taken up. MARS and TP are new modalities of bridging the therapy to liver transplant. And TPE and MARS may save, albeit a very small percentage of patients with native liver and avoid liver transplant in them. Graft and recipient survival after liver transplant is very good in these cases. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions?
What is this
Seema.
NWI?
It's
New
the
Wilson's
index. What he was calling as
Yeah,
he's calling
I
it.
understand. Abbreviations.
No, sir, it's not a, this is
No. Absolutely perfect.
Thank you, Dr.
abbreviation.
Perfect.
Thank you, Dr. Seema. We are a little more interested in your data that you try to tell us about how children who initially presented with a low New Wilson's index subsequently worsened. See, but when we normally look up, you were saying that
This is
lot
what
of
you're saying.
previous, the ones that your own patients, you had about 3 patients whom you thought did not qualify for a liver transplant but subsequently had a poor outcome. Yeah, that's one, the second line. So the
I
10,
said 23 of them had the
Yeah,
New
yeah.
Wilson index of more than 11,
Correct,
which is
correct,
supposedly said that in these patients
Correct,
you can
correct,
go ahead and arrange a transplant and do a
no,
transplant.
I understood that. That's what I'm coming to. I just want to know a little more about them. See, for example, below the 23, when you say that 10 had a New Wilson's index between 6 and 10, obviously when they had a poor outcome, they would have had a higher New Wilson's index.
Yeah, but with time, that's what I'm
Right.
saying, yes.
Right.
So, no,
So when do you time that New Wilson's index is also important. That's why you need a serial
see,
New Wilson's index.
that is
So therefore,
exactly
that
the
is-
point. I think you just rightly saying that
Yeah.
basically what you're saying is it
Serial-
should be a dynamic process.
Correct, correct.
It shouldn't be
Correct.
one place. So
Correct.
that is definite. That is what I'm trying to show you. That with over time, this New Wilson index, in some places it's not giving you the correct prediction as to what will happen in future. So it's dynamic, definitely.
Yeah.
And when we do a TPE, we actually keep them dynamically, and that's when I did the TPE I showed you, that the NWI score improved, the PELD improved in so many patients.
No, I think it's very important because currently if you look at our zonal transplant coordination committee and listing people for a fulminant Wilson's, we just take the worst index
Yeah.
and decide whether to transplant or not if it's more than 11.
Can I
So maybe we
answer
can
that?
talk of serial, I don't know whether we have time to look at that, but it's an important point that the serial values will be more important to
And especially
list.
so in centers who are doing living related liver transplant, you have a luxury of waiting and watching. You have a donor who has been worked up and he's there with you. You would just watch the child. There may be a chance that you don't transplant that patient at all. We have right now a child who was sent to us. It's there on the Pet Gastro, WhatsApp group, that he was sent to us with MP of the Chief Minister of MP sending the money across to us for the transplant. And he's after 3 TPs. This girl is moving around. She came with a 4.5 INA. She's right now with 1.9, the last I remember. So this can happen. I'm not saying this will happen in a small percentage, but it will happen. So let's look for these patients.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. I think we'll continue. The next talk, can you invite? Just one small question. I think something about neurological crisis, Wilson crisis, anything Dr. Vinay or Sinha wants to add? Because it was purely hepatic Wilsonian crisis, what they covered.
Yeah, there is a neurological crisis.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should cover that. Yes, I think.
So Dr. Sinha or Vinay can talk about that. Just out of curiosity, I thought that it could be covered.
Like overall, if you see neuro Wilsons, will have about less than 5% of them have a very severely affected form, and the main disability in them is because of very severe dystonia, which you can call as status dystonicus or dystonic storm. And the patients are mainly bedbound because of that, and all the activities are 100% the child is dependent. Another is like when rare situation, sometimes penicillamine does cause worsening of the neurological symptoms, and these are the two situations where we think that we can call it from neurological point of view crisis.
Yeah, thank you.